नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम 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 नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead is praised with transcendental song is established as an irrevocable fact. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. So very happy to see the devotees. It's been a while. Hare Krishna. I'm happy to be back in Abu Dhabi. So many times I wanted to come, but somehow or another it was not possible. Either somebody fell sick, or I fell sick, or Vaishnav Prabhu called me and told me, you have to come to Rajkot now. And when Vaishnav Prabhu says you have to come, that means you have to come. So anyway, by Krishna's mercy, it's very nice to be with the devotees again. So we start the day today with a nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. The verse is from the 3rd canto, 23rd chapter, and it's actually the 7th verse. The title of the chapter is Devahuti's Lamentation. So I'll just read. We can chant after this. Ye me swadharma niratasya tapassamadhi.
Ye me swadharma niratasya tapassamadhi.
Vidyatma yoga vijita bhagavat prasadaha.
Vidyatma yoga vijita bhagavat prasadaha.
Tanevate mat anusevanaya varuddhan.
Tanevate mat anusevanaya varuddhan.
Drishtim prapasya vitarami abhayana shokha.
Drishtim prapasya vitarami abhayana shokha.
Ye me swadharma niratasya tapassamadhi.
Ye me swadharma niratasya tapassamadhi.
Vidhyatma yoga vijita bhagavat prasadaha.
Vidyatma yoga vijita bhagavat prasadaha.
Nevate mat anusevanaya varuddha.
Tanevate madanusevanaya varuddha.
Drishtim prapasya vitarami abhayana shokha.
Drishtim prapasya vitaram abhayana shokha.
Ye me swadharma niratasya tapassamadhi.
Ye me swadharma niratasya tapassamadhi.
Vidhyatma yoga vijita bhagavat prasadaha.
विद्यात्मयोगविदिता भगवत्प्रसादः
तानेव ते मदनुसेवनया वरुद्धाः
तानेव ते मदनुसेवया वरुद्धाः
दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितराम्यभयानशोकान्
दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितराम्यभयानशोकान्
Can we have Prabhu to recite?
ये मे स्वधर्मनिरतस्य तपस्समाधि विद्यात्मयोगविजिता भगवत्प्रसादः तानेव ते मदनुसेवनया वरुद्धाः दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितराम्यभयानशोकान्
ये मे स्वधर्मनिरतस्य तपः समाधि
ये मे स्वधर्मनिरतस्य तपस्समाधि
विद्यात्मयोगविजिता भगवत्प्रसादः
विद्यात्मयोगविजिता भगवत्प्रसादः
तानेव ते मदनुसेवया वरुद्धाः
तानेव ते मदनुसेवनया वरुद्धान्
दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितरामभयानशोकान्
दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितराम्यभयानशोकान् ये मे स्वधर्मनिरतस्य तपस्समाधि विद्यात्मयोगविजिता भगवत्प्रसादः तानेव ते मदनुसेवनया वरुद्धान् दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितरामभयानशोकान्
Mataji?
ये मे स्वधर्मनिरतस्य तपस्समाधि विद्यात्मयोगविजिता भगवत्प्रसादः तानेव ते मदनुसेवनया वरुद्धान् दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितरामभयानशोकान् ये मे स्वधर्मनिरतस्य तपस्समाधि विद्यात्मयोगविजिता भगवत्प्रसादः तानेव ते मदनुसेवनया वरुद्धान् दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितरामभयानशोकान्
Please repeat the synonyms. Ye,
ये
those which may by me swadharma, own religious life, niratasya, fully occupied with, tapaha, in austerity, samadhi, in meditation, vidya, in Krishna consciousness, atma yoga, by fixing the mind, vijitaha, achieve Bhagavat Prasadaha, the blessings of the Lord, Tan, them, Eva, even, they, by you, Mat, to me, Anusevanaya, by devoted service, Avaruddhan, obtain, Drishtim, transcendental vision, Prapasya, just see, Vitarami, I am giving, Abhayan, which are free, from fear, Ashokan, which are free, from lamentation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Please repeat the translation. Kardama Muni continued,
I
have achieved the blessings of the Lord in discharging my own religious life of austerity, meditation, and Krishna consciousness. Although you have not experienced these achievements which are free from fear and lamentation, I shall offer them all to you, because you are engaged in my service. Now just look at them. I am giving you the transcendental vision to see how nice they are. Please hear the purport. Devahuti engaged only in the service of Kardama Muni. She was not supposed to be so advanced in austerity, ecstasy, meditation or Krishna consciousness. But imperceptibly, she was sharing her husband's achievements, which she could neither see nor experience. Automatically, she achieved these graces of the Lord. What are the graces of the Lord? It is stated here that the graces of the Lord are abhaya, free from fearfulness. In the material world, if someone accumulates $1 million, he's always full of fear because he's always thinking, what if the money is lost? But the benediction of the Lord, Bhagavad Prasada, is never to be lost. It is simply to be enjoyed. There is no question of loss. One simply gains and enjoys gaining. Bhagavad Gita also confirms this. When one achieves the grace of the Lord, the result is that sarva dukkhani, all distresses are destroyed. When situated in the transcendental position, one is freed from two kinds of material diseases, hankering and lamentation. When situated in the transcendental position, one is freed from two kinds of material diseases, hankering and lamentation. This is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. After devotional life begins, we can achieve the full result of love of Godhead. Love of Krishna is the highest perfection of Bhagavad Prasada or divine mercy. This transcendental achievement is so greatly valuable that no material happiness can compare to it. Prabodhananda Saraswati said that if one achieves the grace of Lord Chaitanya, he becomes so great that he does not care a fig even for the demigods. He thinks of monism as hellish, and for him the perfection of controlling the senses is as easy as anything. Heavenly pleasures become to him no more than stories. Actually, there is no comparison between material happiness and transcendental happiness. By the grace of Kardama Muni, Devahuti experienced actual realization simply by serving. We get a similar example in the life of Narada Muni. In his previous life, Narada was a maid-servant's son, but his mother was engaged in the service of great devotees. He got the opportunity to serve the devotees, and simply by eating the remnants of their foodstuff and carrying out their orders, he became so elevated that in his next life he became the great personality Narada. For spiritual achievement, the easiest path is to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and to serve him with heart and soul. That is the secret of success. As stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master, Yasya prasadat Bhagavad prasadaha. By serving or receiving the grace of the spiritual master, one receives the grace of the Supreme Lord. By serving her devotee husband Kardama Muni, Devahuti shared in his achievements. Similarly, a sincere disciple, simply by serving a bona fide spiritual master, can achieve all the mercy of the Lord and the spiritual master simultaneously. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitayena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Dharamayam Dadadi Swadanamitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sadajatam Savagana Raghunathantam Shri Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurage Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Pushavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Vipasindhubhya evacha Patitanam Bhavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Oh, so I should put it like this? Yes, please. Can you hear me?
No.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. This is a lot easier. So this verse is, I think you can reduce it a bit because now I feel like I have to whisper. Just a little bit. So Prabhu's Mataji's, this verse is very important because it gives us a very important principle in devotional service. And the devotional principle in this is that actually the mercy of the spiritual master and the mercy of the pure devotee cannot be underestimated in order for us to be successful in devotional service. And this is not a sentimental thing. This is a very important point. There's always the tendency when a devotee takes initiation from a spiritual master or serves great devotees, there's always the tendency that the devotee accepts that relationship is sentimental. But Prabhupada made it very clear that the relationship between a great advanced devotee and a devotee who's trying to advance in Krishna consciousness is actually situated on the platform of transcendental knowledge. This is a very important point. One time there was one devotee, whenever Prabhupada would come to that temple, I forget the name of the temple, but this devotee would stand in front of Prabhupada and he would very loudly offer prayers from Bhagavatam, prayers in glorification of the spiritual master. And everyone would think, that this devotee was doing nice because offering prayers obviously pleases the spiritual master. But very funnily, Prabhupada always ignored him. So, one more time when the devotee stood in front of Prabhupada and he started chanting glorification of prayers to the spiritual master, Prabhupada stopped one day with all his disciples, looked at this devotee and told him, just do something. Go and do something. Instead of standing in front of me and chanting the prayers, do something. It's not that Prabhupada told us not to chant prayers, because chanting prayers is considered a form of devotional service. But if we just sit back and say, I've taken initiation, or I've surrendered before the spiritual master, he's in my heart, I'm in his heart, but we don't translate this into that which will actually please the spiritual master, then it becomes a sentiment. Do you all remember Vasudeva the leper in Chaitanya Charitamrita? It's a very nice pastime. In this village, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing by and he saw this leper, Vasudeva. And Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us this Vasudeva was such a great devotee. He was the embodiment of tolerance. He tolerated so much difficulty because he was afflicted by leprosy. And even though he was such a great devotee, somehow or another he had this difficulty of the challenging disease. But he was so compassionate that even though he had sores all around his body, and the sores of leprosy had these worms, who were actually living on the sores. If sometimes the worms, because there were too many on one sore, if they dropped off, Vasudeva would pick up that worm and put it back onto the wound, because he did not want to disrupt what the worm was doing on his body. Our Guru Maharaj told us the implication is not just that Vasudeva was a great devotee and he was tolerant, but because he saw that his body could be of value to another living entity. This is what the spiritual master is telling us. This is what Srila Prabhupada told the devotees. that this body, this sharir, is nothing but a bag of stool, urine, blood. We heard the lecture yesterday. So we know that this body actually has no value. So until we use this body for the service of the living entities, and that also not on a sentimental plane, but to make sure that they also understand that we are not this body. And that is what Vasudeva was doing with his own body. By putting a worm back to his body, he was actually showing the world how much detached he was from his own sharir. But he was using the sharir if it was of value to another living entity. So this is a very important point. And Vasudeva wanted to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when he arrived at the place where Mahaprabhu was, he realized he had just missed him and Mahaprabhu was leaving. So he cried out in his heart. But because Krishna is in the heart of every living entity, Mahaprabhu, being non-different from Krishna, he could immediately understand that this great devotee wanted to take darshan. So Mahaprabhu turns back and he comes to see Vasudeva and he embraces him when he sees him. And Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us that when Vasudeva got embraced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually he felt very embarrassed. And he felt totally undeserving. Because he said, this body is so unclean and I'm a leper and I've been suffering so much. Why should the Lord, who is supreme pure, touch my body? So at that point of time when Mahaprabhu touched him, because Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna and Mahaprabhu is supreme pure, by the dint of Mahaprabhu's mercy, and because Mahaprabhu was very pleased with the mood and behavior of Vasudeva, Vasudeva's entire body became completely pristine and cleansed. When Vasudeva saw that he had regained use of his body in the service of the Lord, he simply danced in ecstasy and fell at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. And when Mahaprabhu was going to leave now, Vasudeva also expressed a desire to travel with Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu actually gave him nice instruction. He told him, you don't have to travel anywhere now with me. You do one thing. He advised him to please preach about Krishna and liberate the living entities. This is what pleases all the great devotees of the Lord. That if we really want to please our spiritual masters and please Srila Prabhupada, then don't please them according to our minds, whims and desires. Oh Maharaj, I very much love you, you are my Guru, so I will serve you according to what I want to do. No. Vasudeva had a great desire to follow Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu stopped him. And Mahaprabhu tested his loyalty and his dedication. He told him, you stay here. You stay here and you preach Krishna consciousness. Vasudeva actually very much wanted to just stay and be with Mahaprabhu wherever he went. But Prabhupada writes in one of the purports in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the instruction of Mahaprabhu was more important to follow than what Vasudeva wanted to do. This is important, Prabhus and Matajis. The success of our spiritual life is not in what we want to do. The moment we decide what we want to do, then the spiritual master is just a bouncing board for what we want to do. Prabhupada said, don't make the spiritual master into a pet. Don't make it a fashion. I must have a spiritual master. But I'll do whatever I want to do. But never mind, we'll just have a spiritual master now. And Prabhupada writes in that purport that that is the process of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He says very nicely, each and every member of this society was rescued from a very abominable condition. Isn't it true? Just like the leprosy condition of Vasudeva, Prabhupada is so expertly saying that we are all suffering the leprosy of the material world. But because we came in touch with Krishna consciousness, we had been cured of it. We were all in abominable position. But now we are not only cured, but we should also try to serve others and cure them of this disease. This is what will please the spiritual master. And Prabhupada ends by saying, because Vasudeva took to heart this instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he then decided that he would serve the Lord for a higher interest. Instead of simply traveling with Mahaprabhu, he stayed back and he preached Krishna consciousness to every living entity. And because he did that, Prabhupada writes, he undoubtedly attained the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. And why we are saying this is because this whole purport is actually speaking about how important it is to actually serve the spiritual master. Prabhupada writes in the last line, similarly, a sincere disciple, what must he do or what must she do? The symptom of sincerity is to be simple. If you read Prabhupada's last line, similarly, a sincere disciple simply by serving. So actually the real sincerity comes when we don't complicate our situation. The symptom of sincerity is when we are very pointedly just following the instructions of the spiritual master. Tasmat ekena manasa. That is the key. With only one pointed attention. Then our determination to serve the spiritual master is not many branched. Otherwise what happens is, bahusaka hi anantascha. We become many branched. We become many branched because we want to follow our instructions. We do not want to follow the spiritual master's instructions. And when we are many branched, we lose the determination to preach. Sometimes you'll ask yourself, why I don't have the fire to preach? It's not anybody's fault. It's not Abu Dhabi's fault. It's not anybody or any condition's fault. It is our heart. We should just be simple in serving what the spiritual master would be pleased by. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Vasudev, I will be pleased if you stay back and preach Krishna consciousness. Vasudev had two roads to follow. One, no Mahaprabhu, it doesn't matter. You may be pleased, but I'm more pleased if I follow you. If he does that, then he's not a simple and sincere disciple. He becomes a complicated and unsincere disciple. But because he said, Mahaprabhu, what you want becomes my life, my soul, my mission. Therefore, if you think that I should preach, even though I'm not qualified, but by your grace, the word that is used in this verse is by the graces of the Lord. By the grace of the Lord, then I will do whatever you want me to do. This is very important. That's why it is stated, Tato andeta kinchana yad vivekshataha. This is very important. Pritak prikat. We must align ourselves with the vision of the spiritual master. Whenever we become disturbed in devotional service, Prabhus and Matajis, there's no other reason than the fact that we have misaligned ourselves with the vision of the Lord and His pure devotee. Go back to the drawing board and ask yourself, what has gone wrong with my mission? That is the key. And you will find that is the reason. And Krishna always reciprocates with the devotee who is simple and who simply wants to serve the spiritual master. Always. See the example of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Devahuti actually came from such an amazing background. After all, who was her father? Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhuva Manu means very opulent, very elevated personality. She was brought up in the lamp of luxury. And yet, when Kardama Muni became her husband, Bhagavatam shows us that she gave up everything. Her body, the body of a woman, is considered very, very important in opulence. It is considered to be something that all women always take care of. Yet Bhagavatam tells us that even though this body is so dear to the embodied beings, for Devahuti it did not become important. It only was important because she was serving Kardama Muni. So she ignored her bodily demands for a higher demand, the demand of serving her husband. And that's why Prabhupada says here that when we follow a higher life, a higher taste, that we use our body in the service of a higher cause, then the value of the body is really there. Then the grace of the Lord actually comes. So if you see this verse, you find that Kardama Muni first of all achieved the Lord's blessings. And Bhagavatam tells us he achieved the Lord's blessings by only doing three things. First, he discharged his religious life with austerity. This is very important. He performed all his spiritual activities with austerity. Austerity means he controlled his senses, again for a higher cause. Hiranyakashipu was very austere, Prabhus and Matajis. His austerity we cannot compare. But his austerity was ultimately for his sense gratification. It was just a matter of holding back for a while so that I can enjoy everything. That is not austerity. The austerity of a devotee is to withdraw his senses from matter and direct his senses to spirit. That is the value of austerity. The second thing that Kardama Muni had he achieved the Lord's blessings. The second activity that attracted Krishna's blessings is actually meditation. He was always in samadhi. Samadhi means that he was always dovetailing all his efforts to Krishna. This is very important. We should live our life in such a way that we should ask ourselves, what should I do for the pleasure of Krishna? Or if I do this activity, will it actually be for the pleasure of devotees and Krishna? This is the question that will save our spiritual life. So every time we say, I don't want to come for a program, I have this thing, I have that thing to do. The question we should ask is very simple. Will our spiritual master be pleased if we don't come for a program? And you know the answers. You cannot cheat your heart. You may not tell someone externally, but in your heart you will know what really pleases Guru. It's very straightforward. So when we don't do it, then there is no samadhi. Then we are not peaceful, because there is no austerity. So that's why Kadamba Muni practiced austerity, and on the platform of austerity, he could dovetail his mind and his heart to what pleases Krishna. This is the link between these two. And the third point that's very important is that he did this austerity and meditation on the background of Vidya. And Vidya, Prabhupada translates very nicely as Krishna consciousness. You see word to word? Vidya means in Krishna consciousness. So tapaha, samadhi and vidya. Tapaha is austerity. Samadhi is in meditation. And what is the platform? Is vidya, Krishna consciousness. So we should be very clear how we perform these activities. Krishna consciousness is not made up, it's not concocted. It is actually done in authority. And these three things actually attracts the Lord's mercy. That's why Kadamba Muni became such a realized person. And the same thing I think is stated in 3.9.30 of Srimad Bhagavatam. In 3.9.30, Brahmaji's prayers, Krishna tells Brahma, Bhuyas tvam tapa atishta vidyam chaiva manashrayam thabhyam antarhridi brahman loka drakshati apavritan. This is a very important verse. Because in this verse, Brahmaji makes it Brahmaji has worked very hard in the 3rd canto, 9th chapter. He has chanted so many prayers and he has taken so much austerity just to know what is his service to Krishna. Just to understand what the Lord wants him to do. And at the end of it, the Lord actually reciprocates. And he says to Brahmaji, Brahma, you just situate yourself. This is the 3rd S. One is sincere disciple. Second is to be simple. Third is to situate. This is the 3rd S. If we want to be simple in devotional service, and if we want to be really sincere to devotional service, then we must follow what Krishna is saying. Just situate. Another word for situate is sthane, stitaha. Sthane, stitaha means you become fixed. It doesn't matter whether you're in Abu Dhabi, India, Singapore, it doesn't matter. But wherever you are, you situate yourself. In what? In penance and meditation. This is Lord's advice to Brahma. Situate yourself in penance, situate yourself in meditation, and follow all these principles of knowledge. And what is knowledge? Vidya. And what is Vidya? Krishna consciousness. And if you do these three things, Krishna says in 3.9.30, what will happen? You will receive my favor. Favor. The word favor, Maharaj says, is connected to favorite. When you say someone is my favorite, that means he's getting all your favors. That's the meaning of favorite. So if you want to become favorite of the Lord, then you must receive his favors. And how to receive his favors? Our sadhana bhakti must be very strong, Prabhu and Mataji's. Mangalarati is a must. Chanting of 16 rounds, lovingly, not mechanically, I have to finish. That is not simple, that is not serving, that is just mechanics. It should be from the heart. It really should be from the heart. And daily study, scrutinizing study of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advice to the leper. Go out and spread this word of Krishna consciousness to every living entity. Not just sit down, you look at wife looks at you, and that's the end of our Krishna consciousness. No. Krishna consciousness means whatever we hear, we must repeat. And when we repeat, we will remember. Whatever we hear, we repeat. Whatever we repeat, we remember. You see the triangle? It's a very straightforward science. Very important. This is what we should do. I asked Maharaj one time, Why is it so important to preach to other living entities? Can we not advance just sitting at home and study Bhagavatam? Maharaj said if you study and you don't repeat, then you're stingy poker number one. Then you become what we call Kripana. Kripana means you are miser. You're miser. So Maharaj said you should become Kripana Vatsala. And we have two Kripana Vatsalas here. It's a double thing, you know. So this congregation is very fortunate. Two Kripana Vatsalas. The point is, the moment we think we have Krishna consciousness and we don't make an effort to reach out to the living entities who don't have it, then we are miserly. Then we are miserly. Then Krishna consciousness will eventually become a sentiment. I will sit here and look at you, you will look at me, you will die and I will die. Maharaj said if Srila Prabhupada had just stayed in Vrindavan, he would have been Kripana number one. Because he was the pure devotee of all pure devotees. But he said with all that I have, I should use this sharir now and use it in the service of the Lord. That's what each one of us has to do, Prabhus and Matajis. Each one this year should meet 5 new people and bring them to Krishna consciousness. That is what we should do. That is what gives us life. And that was what was giving life to Kadma Muni. Because he was actually becoming the best preacher to his wife. He gave his wife Krishna consciousness. It didn't matter whether it was his wife or not. But Devahuti came here as a pious individual. But because of the association of Kadma Muni, she achieved all his achievements. And he achieved it because of these 3. And Brahmaji says in 3.9.30, if you perform, Krishna says this, if you perform and situate yourself in penance and meditation, and you follow these principles of knowledge, then what happens? You will receive my favor. And Brahma is told by Krishna, by these actions, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. Everything. And if you read the purport, Prabhupada says, the mercy of the Lord that is bestowed upon a particular person who is engaged in executing the principles of devotional service and work which is given to him is actually very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. In other words, Krishna becomes extra kind and gives extra favors to a devotee who is trying to execute that which pleases him. This is very important. And when that happens, Krishna gives the devotee the understanding by which he can come to him. Dadami Buddhi Yogamita. This is the science. Sometimes we say, why is it that after so many years in Krishna consciousness, we are still not making advancement? Because you're not sharing this knowledge. When we share this knowledge, Krishna becomes very pleased. Then even if we are imperfect, he then gives us the understanding by which we come to him. This is the missing component in our spiritual life. That is why Prabhupada said, purity is the force, but preaching is the essence. Until we use this purity for preaching, then the essence is lost. The essence is lost. This is very important. Our Guru Maharaj told us what Prabhupada did for Krishna consciousness was groundbreaking. Because for thousands of years the Vaishnavas sat with themselves and discussed Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada did not sit with any Vaishnava. He sat with all the Malechas, all of us. He crossed oceans just to spend time to give Krishna consciousness. That's why we are here today. That is why so much favor has been received through Prabhupada on our heads, through our spiritual masters. Until we become convinced of this, we will not make that advancement. This is a very important point. Now that we understand that Devahuti, now we understand the qualification of Kadama Muni, the other thing that's really important is that Devahuti Mata did not have these qualifications. Prabhupada makes it very clear. And he himself, the husband himself says, although you have not experienced these achievements, which are free from fear and lamentation, I shall offer them all to you because you are engaged in my service. This is the spiritual master actually speaking to the disciple. Even though they are husband and wife, actually the relationship is spiritual master and disciple. And this is what the spiritual master is capable of giving. Because if we serve the spiritual master according to his directions, not our directions, according to his directions, then, as Kadama Muni says here, I shall offer them all to you. What? All his spiritual achievements. Everything. Everything. And that is why it is written in the purport, Devahuti Mata had no qualification, but she had only one quality. She simply served her husband with sincerity. Simply served, sincerity. 3 S's. And she did all this and she became situated. 4th S. In what? In sharing all his devotional achievements. Everything. Everything came to her. Some people will say, my God, this is not fair. He worked very hard and she got everything. But this is called mercy. Mercy means it's not fair. Mercy always means it's not fair. I asked one time, Guru Maharaj, what does mercy mean? Mercy means you're not supposed to get it, you don't deserve it, you're hopeless, but you're getting it anyway. That's what it means. That's what mercy means. Mercy means you are not supposed to be entitled to it. There's no entitlement, but never mind, you're getting it anyway. That is mercy. That is mercy. So Devahuti had no standards. She had no realizations. She had nothing. But the word that is used by Prabhupada here is imperceptibly. Imperceptibly in Bhagavatam is also used when Vidura advises Dhritarashtra. And he says, time is overtaking you. Atyakramat avinyata. And the word atyakramat is also meaning imperceptibly, and it's overtaking. So actually devotional service also is so powerful that even if we resist it, it can overtake us. It can also overtake us. Guru Maharaj gave the example of being in the plane. When you start, the plane goes very fast. You feel the speed. But after a while, when the plane is cruising, actually the speed is very high. It's very, very fast. 800, 900 kilometers an hour. It's amazing. And yet you don't feel anything. That is imperceptibly. It's working, but we don't realize it. This is mercy of spiritual master. Kadama Muni was giving everything because he was so pleased with her. And because he was being served, Krishna was pleased with Devahuti. This is important point. Because Kadama Muni was a devotee of the Lord and he was following the instructions of Brahmaji, so Krishna became pleased. Because here is a great devotee following another great devotee. You see the parampara? And because he became pleased with Kadama Muni because he was following Brahma, so now whoever pleases Kadama Muni, Krishna becomes their servant also. And so Devahuti Mata qualified. And all the graces of Krishna came to her. And what are the graces of Krishna? This is very important before we conclude the discussion. 2 points are very important. When we talk of the Lord's grace, we are not talking about a whimsical concept. It is not that grace means just favor. When there is grace, 2 things will happen to us. And this is a science. You can understand when you have the grace of the spiritual master on you. Because the first thing that will happen to us is, we will achieve a state of abhaya, free of fearfulness. This is what Prabhupada states in the purport. He asked the question, what are the graces of the Lord in the 2nd paragraph? Why? Because this is an important point. Kadama Muni was not giving something sentimental. When you serve the spiritual master and you are serving him sincerely, then one thing will come. We become fearless. Remember how Guru Maharaj used to tell us so many times, never lose courage. Never lose courage. All our spiritual masters always say that to us in all our difficulties. Don't lose courage. Because when we have faith that we are serving the spiritual master, then fearlessness will become our middle name. We will not fear. Why should we fear for anything? After all, we have the shelter of one who is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the worst that can happen to us? We will die. That's it. And Maharaj always told us, once you understand that the worst that can happen to you is that you will die, everything else is alright. Isn't it? That's all. And that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Some people say, if I wake up in the morning for Mangalarati, I'll fall sick. We say, if you fall sick and die during Mangalarati, this is very auspicious. So what's the problem? Nothing wrong. Even if you have to die, at least die during Mangalarati. Don't die when you're sleeping. Or at least don't die when you have skipped Mangalarati because you say, next day Mangalarati I have to wake up. That is really bad. Then you're not here, you're not there. So in performing devotional service, we have to challenge our bodies. We have to challenge our minds. We have to challenge the urges of the senses. Because the mind will give you all the favorable arguments why I should not stretch myself. My children are very young. Maharaj always gives this example. Every husband and wife who is new to Krishna consciousness, the moment the children come, Maharaj told me, Devaki, then you can expect now they will apply for annual leave from Bhakti. That's when they will say, children are very young, Prabhu, I'm very sorry, we need to take care of them. But this was Maharaj's instruction to me. He said at every junction of your life, when your material commitments increase, your spiritual commitments must increase even more. Even more. If you do not do that at that point, your material commitments will swallow you like the serpent of time. And it is true. I have personally seen this. Every time a material commitment has taken up my time, and by Krishna and Guru's mercy, I have just pushed to increase the spiritual commitment, the material commitment becomes controllable. It doesn't touch you. You don't know where you find the time. Krishna is Yogeshwar. He can make your 24 hours into 48 hours. Why not? He can do anything. Krishna tomorrow can make the sun set in the east and rise in the west. After all, he decided which side the sun must set, isn't it? He can decide which side it should set. He created us. Why will he not give us the facilities to come to him if we want to? The only thing we have, the only opulence we have is Ichcha, desire. It is desire that either kills Krishna consciousness or it is desire that will revive Krishna consciousness in our heart. And the decision is squarely on our shoulders. Nobody can put a gun to our heads and tell us, now you desire that you must love Krishna. No, then it's not love anymore. It has to come from our own hearts. And that can only come when we serve the spiritual master. Because he will cleanse our hearts. He will give us the understanding by which we come to Krishna. And that's what Devahuti was getting now. She just served with all her heart, simply, with sincerity, and she remained situated in the service. And the result was all the transcendental achievements. She became fearless. Fear arises from attachment. Attachment to material objects. That is how fear comes. When we get $1 million, instead of becoming happy, we're actually fearful. Right? At the point when you get the $1 million, you're very happy. The next moment you think, now how am I going to keep this? And if even $1 out of the $1 million goes, you can't sleep in the night. Because you think, oh my God, now I became $1 poorer. This is how we feel. And if the next day someone gives you another $1 million, now our anxiety has increased. It has increased. But supposing you had none of this $1 million, then it doesn't matter. It really didn't matter. This is the point. In one lecture I was hearing Maharaj was saying, we spend so much money on bricks and mortar and all this physical, but we can't eat a single brick for dinner. We can't swallow mortar, we can't swallow cement. At the end of the day, you only can still eat chapatis and sabjis and rice. And they don't cost anything. So actually, this attachment is what brings fear in this world. We think we will lose something. But Maharaj told us, you have already lost everything the moment you are born. The moment you are born, you have lost everything. Once you realize you are a loser because you are born, then the only way is to go up. Then the only way is to take up Krishna consciousness. Then we never lose. So this is how we get rid of fear. You see Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was very upset because he wanted to become bigger and better than his father and he couldn't sit on his father's lap. So he started with a strong material desire. He went to Mother Suniti. Mother Suniti could have she could have fanned this fire of material desire. Yes, my son, this is the ambition to have. Now let's make up a 10-year plan so how you can become greater than your brother. Most materialists will tell us to do that. What did Suniti do? She said, actually, you know what, your stepmother is right. What did Suruchi tell him? She told him that the only way you can sit on the lap of your father is you will pray very hard to the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that next life, that means you must die in this life, next life you will be born in my womb and then you have a chance to sit next to your brother. It's a very roundabout route, just to sit on the lap of the father. So when he went back to his mother, he was expecting that mother will say, what nonsense is this? You don't have to do that. But mother said, no, she's right. She's absolutely right. Someone in some congregation, he said that those who read Bhagavatam, they are Maya. So why are they wasting time reading Bhagavatam? So one of our God brothers got very upset and went to see Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, how can he say that those who are in Maya, they are reading Bhagavatam? And Maharaj said, he's right. The reason why we read Bhagavatam is because we are in Maya. So those who are in Maya, they are reading Bhagavatam. So the statement is correct. So for devotees, these statements are not wrong. For us it is very bad. But that is sentimental. We don't realize that the truth is there. So Suniti was very smart. She said, he's right, she's right. You can only solve your problem if you go to Krishna. So she told him, you go to Krishna now, and he will solve all problems. And so he went. And that journey of 6 months changed his heart from material desire to no desires. And to the desire to serve Krishna. No desire is still not good enough. The desire to serve Krishna is higher than no desire. That is important. And when he wanted to serve Krishna, Dhruva became fearless. Fearless. That is the point. He became fearless. When Prahlad Maharaj wanted to serve Nrsimhadev, he was fearless. Hiranyakashipu terrified the whole world. But he didn't terrify Dhruva Maharaj. He did not. In fact, he was completely fearless. When Nrsimhadev had torn apart Hiranyakashipu and everyone was thinking how to make him a bit calm, they were doing the Russian roulette, isn't it? First Brahma said, someone told Brahma to go. Brahma said no. Brahma said, you go. Everybody, Lakshmi said no. Everybody said no. And finally Brahma thought, okay, there is this boy, Prahlad. At least he can try. And Prahlad Maharaj fearlessly stood before Lord Nrsimhadev. This is very important. The grace of the Lord comes when, despite all the challenges in our material life, we should never become discouraged. Please don't become discouraged. The problems of material life come, but they will come and go. That is their nature. It is the nature of the world. Right? We don't become samsara dharme avimuyamanaha. We don't become bewildered by this samsara. The nature of this samsara is to bewilder us. But a devotee is not bewildered because he is smritya hari bhagavata pradhana. He is always remembering Krishna. That's why we must see the hand of Krishna. And the hand of Krishna comes when we serve the pure devotee. And the second grace that is very important is no hankering and no lamentation. This is very important. Very, very important. You remember Pingala? Pingala was the prostitute, She lived her whole life trying to become happy by serving others. Nothing wrong in that principle, because generally speaking, you become happy when you extend yourself. It's true. Even the most selfish person, if that person just helps another person, he will experience some joy. But the problem is, everyone that she was serving was only using her for their own satisfaction. And in the end, her happiness lay in whether somebody else was happy or not. How many times we've been in this position where we become so much in anxiety because the person whom we are serving, we don't know whether they are happy or not. When they are happy, we are very happy. When they are down, we are down. It's a bit like Puranjana, isn't it? When Puranjana became so attracted to this lady who's actually misguided intelligence, when she cried, he would cry. When she was happy, he was happy. The same with Ajamil also. Ajamil was very happy when his son Narayana was there. Same with Bharat Maharaj and the deer. Bharat Maharaj was very happy when deer was happy. When deer was sad, he was sad. When deer looked morose, he became morose. When deer was playful, he became playful. And in doing all this, he forgot that he actually came to the ashram and left everything just to remember Krishna. In the end, it was International Society for Deer Consciousness. The deer became very dear, but Krishna was completely forgotten. So this lamentation and hankering comes also on the basis of attachment. And because we want to please everyone else except Krishna. And though we don't know how to please Krishna, Bhagavatam in this verse tells us, all you have to do is please a great devotee of Krishna. That at least we know. Krishna may be very far away for us, but we know if we please Srila Prabhupada and we please our spiritual masters, their pleasure will actually open the door to the kingdom of God for us. This is an important point. That's why Pingala, she spent a whole lifetime always hoping that some men will give her that everlasting happiness. But it never came. And one day when she was old, she was no longer attractive. So many men passed her, never stopped. And she waited and waited until evening came. And nobody came to share happiness with her. And finally, she got this great spirit of renunciation. It came in her. Because when you get disgusted with material life, sometimes by Krishna's mercy, you decide enough is enough. And at that point of time, that's what happened to her. So she chants very nicely this point, which is very important for us before we conclude. Shantam samipe ramanam rati pradam vitta pradam nityamimam vihaya akamadam dukkha bayadi shokha moha pradam tucchamaham bhaje ajnaha. This is in the 11th canto. And the meaning is very nice. I am such a fool that I have given up the service of that person who actually is eternally situated within my heart. This is foolishness. Krishna is in the heart always, but we have forgotten to serve him. He is the one who is actually most dear to me. Dear not only means one who loves me, but one who is very valuable to me. That's another meaning of dear. Then she goes on to say that most dear one is the Lord of the universe. He is the true giver of real love and happiness. And he gives real prosperity. He is very near to me because he's in my own heart. But instead of searching for him within, I'm searching everywhere for happiness. And I'm running and running and running everywhere else, and I have completely neglected him. When we do not want to serve the instructions of the spiritual master and the Lord, we are actually neglecting them. Please understand that point. Neglect is when someone is in your house and you ignore them. Isn't it true? Krishna is in the house, he's in your heart. The teachings of the spiritual master is in your heart. Those who have accepted the spiritual master, he is in your heart. And yet we have neglected them. If you neglect his instructions, how can you accept him? Where is the logic? If you accept the spiritual master, you have to accept in toto his instructions. You cannot say, I'll accept some things I like, but actually I will not accept some things I don't like. That is not acceptance. So then she ends by saying, instead of serving him, I have ignorantly served insignificant men. And these insignificant men will never satisfy me. They will never satisfy me. All they have done is simply brought me fear, lamentation, unhappiness, anxiety, and finally, illusion. You can test this in your own lives. Every time we have decided to do something without the grace of the Lord and the spiritual master, we fear, we are unhappy, we lament, we are always in anxiety, and this whole thing is coming because we are completely in illusion. So that's why the special mercy of the Lord, Bhagavad Prasada, that is the time when our devotion service begins. Very important. So in conclusion, Prabhus and Matajis, we must always remember, as Prabhupada says so nicely at the end, by serving her devotee husband, Kadama Muni, devotee Devahuti shared in his achievements. Narada Muni was just like that. Prabhupada gives this example. What did Narada do? He was just a boy of a maidservant. But because he was gentle in his ways and he was submissive to the instructions of the Bhakti Vedantas, he actually shared in the achievements of his mother. His mother was the one serving them. And then by default, mother brought him to share. So actually Narada Muni is twice removed. He was not even directly serving until mother brought him into the picture. See how nice. This is the example of great devotional service. And because he followed it very nicely with his heart and his soul, he achieved the perfection of spiritual existence. So this is a very important message for us in Bhagavatam. We may not be in the position of the spiritual master, and we don't want to be. We are simply servants. But Krishna is so kind, all we have to do is just with our heart and soul take shelter of the bona fide spiritual master and serve them. Do what pleases them. Do not do what pleases you. When you please the spiritual master, fear and attachment goes. When you please the spiritual master, courage comes into the heart, there's no lamentation, and most of all the graces of the Lord, the penances, the austerity, the results of them, they all come automatically. Look at Mayadanava, demon number 1. He was being chased out of the forest. Somehow by the mercy of Krishna and Arjuna, they started the forest fire, and Mayadanava was one of the entities inside who was supposed to be chased out. But he did only one thing. Somehow or another, as he ran out, he saw Krishna and he saw Arjuna. And he knew that Krishna is the source of all sources. But he also knew that if he fell at Krishna's feet, Krishna, had a good reputation for killing demons. So not a very good feet to fall on. So what does he do? He falls at the lotus feet of Arjuna. And when he does that, Arjuna becomes embarrassed. Yes, Prabhu. Arjuna becomes embarrassed. And when Arjuna became embarrassed, what happened to him? Krishna became very happy. Not because of Arjuna's embarrassment, but because of Arjuna's humility. And Krishna turns to Mayadanava and tells Mayadanava that actually what you've done is very nice. Because he is the one whom you should follow it. And because you do that, you'll be spared of the fire of the forest. And if we fall at the lotus feet of the pure devotee, we will also be spared of this forest fire, which is actually devastating all our hearts. Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Srila Gurudev ki
Jai.
Thy Gaur Prema.
His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu ji ki Jai.
Ananta Kori Vaishnava ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhu's Mataji's for your association. Maybe I can take one quick question, or should we leave Prabhu?
Prabhuji, already we got a call in.
Oh, okay. What time is the program there?
9:30 Prabhuji, but you have to take the breakfast and prepare
Okay.
breakfast.
Fine. So we have a long day anyway.
Yeah.
So if in between there are questions, there are things to be thought about, maybe at some point, Krishna willing, we can meet again.
Prabhuji, I have one question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, only one question.
I'll answer it very quickly.
Yeah. So, what we deserve actually?
What will?
What we deserve actually?
Deserve.
What do we deserve? The only right we have, Bhagavatam says, is that we deserve to start a transcendental relationship with our Supreme Father. That we deserve to. And that will come when we serve His Supreme Sons and Daughters. Full stop.
Unless we get the mercy of Krishna, whether we can get what we deserve?
When we get the mercy of Krishna, that is what we deserve. That is what we deserve. We deserve His mercy because we are His sons and daughters. Prabhupada says it's our birthright, but we have forgotten it. Full stop.
Thank you.